You started thinking differently. Stopped nodding along to things you didn't believe. Stopped pretending to care about things that don't matter. Stopped performing emotional reactions you don't feel. And suddenly, people around you got uncomfortable. They didn't say it directly, of course. They disguised it as concern. Are you okay? You've changed. You're different. Now they made jokes that weren't really jokes. They created distance while claiming nothing was wrong. But you felt it. The shift, the withdrawal, the silent judgment. And here's what nobody told you. This discomfort they feel isn't about you being wrong. It's about you being awake. Because when one person wakes up, everyone else's sleep becomes obvious. Jordan experienced this at 28. After spending 2 years working on herself, reading philosophy, questioning everything she once accepted, without thought, practicing brutal honesty with herself. She stopped playing the social games, stopped seeking validation, stopped molding herself to fit others' expectations. And her friends started pulling away, not because she was unkind, but because her presence made them confront their own inauthenticity. Her family started worrying not because she was unhealthy, but because she no longer needed their approval. Her colleagues started avoiding her not because she was difficult, but because she stopped pretending mediocrity was excellence. And this is the first truth they don't tell you about mental strength. The stronger you become, the more threat you are to everyone who's still weak, not physically threatening, but psychologically threatening. Because your evolution exposes their stagnation, your clarity reveals their confusion, your peace highlights their chaos, and nobody wants to be forced to see their own weakness. So they try to make you the problem. They try to convince you that your strength is actually dysfunction, that your standards are actually arrogance, that your boundaries are actually coldness. But here's what you need to understand. Their discomfort is not your problem. It's the price of refusing to stay small. Real mental strength isn't built in comfort. It's not built through positive affirmations or motivational quotes or therapy sessions where everything is gentle and supportive. Those things might help, but they don't forge unbreakable minds. Mental strength is built in chaos, in the moments when everything falls apart, when you have nothing to hold on to, when you're forced to face the parts of yourself you've been avoiding. Jordan's transformation didn't begin with inspiration, it began with collapse. She lost her job, her relationship ended, her carefully constructed identity shattered. In that chaos, she had two choices: rebuild the same fragile structure, or use the destruction as an opportunity to build something different. Most people choose the first option. They panic. They rush to put the pieces back together, exactly as they were before, because the familiar, even when broken, feels safer than the unknown. But Jordan chose differently. She sat in the chaos. She let everything stay broken. She stopped trying to immediately fix, repair, return to normal. And in that uncomfortable space, something unexpected happened. Clarity. Because when everything external collapses, you're forced to find something internal. Something that can't be taken away by circumstances. Something solid beneath all the performance. And here's the paradox. The people who look strongest on the outside are often weakest inside. They've built elaborate structures of achievement, status, relationships. Those structures are fragile, dependent on external validation. One crack, and everything crumbles. True strength is different. It's not about never falling. It's about falling completely and discovering you still exist beneath the wreckage. It's about losing everything external and findings internal that nobody can touch. This is what philosophers mean when they talk about forging character in fire. It's not metaphor, it's psychological reality. You don't become strong by avoiding difficulty. You become strong by metabolizing it, by transforming pain into insight, chaos into clarity, destruction into reconstruction. Here's the moment most people can't handle, the moment when you realize nobody is coming to save you. There's no perfect therapist who will fix you, no ideal partner who will complete you, no dream job that will fulfill you, no external circumstance that will finally make you okay. This realization terrifies most people, so they spend their lives waiting for the right opportunity, the right person, the right timing. They outsource their happiness to conditions that may never arrive. But mental strength begins exactly here, in the brutal acceptance that you are alone with yourself, and either you build something or you don't. Jordan had spent years blaming her unhappiness on external factors. If I had a better job, if my relationship was different, if my family understood me. She had an elaborate explanation for why she wasn't where she wanted to be, and all of those explanations conveniently removed her from responsibility. But after her collapse, she faced a different question. What if none of that matters? What if I'm the only variable that counts? What if my entire life is actually just my relationship with my own mind? And this shift changed everything, because suddenly she wasn't waiting for external circumstances to improve. She was taking full ownership of her internal state, not in a toxic positivity way, not pretending everything was fine, but accepting that her experience of life was her responsibility, nobody else's. This is what philosophers call radical responsibility, and it's terrifying, because it means you can't blame anyone anymore. You can't wait for permission. You can't outsource your power. You are it, and that means whatever you are right now, whatever you've become is on you, not your parents, not your past, not your circumstances. You, and only when you accept that crushing weight does something paradoxical happen. You become free, because if you created this mess, you can create something else. You've been lying to yourself your whole life. Not big dramatic lies, but small, comfortable ones. The lies that make daily life bearable. I'll start tomorrow. This relationship will get better. I'm fine with how things are. Everyone else is doing this, so it must be okay. These lies create a cushion between you and reality. They let you avoid difficult truths. They keep you comfortable, but they also keep you weak, because you can't build strength on a foundation of delusion. Jordan's awakening came when she stopped letting herself get away with these lies. She stopped saying I'm fine when she wasn't. Stopped pretending she liked things she hated. Stopped acting like she agreed when she didn't. Stopped performing contentment she didn't feel. And the immediate result was chaos, because those lies had been holding together a fragile piece. Her friends asked her opinion, and instead of giving a diplomatic answer, she gave the true one, and it created conflict. Her family expected her to play a certain role, and she refused, and it created distance. Her workplace demanded cheerful compliance, and she stopped providing it, and it created tension. But here's what she discovered on the other side: those comfortable lies was something real. Uncomfortable, but real. And building a life on reality, even painful reality, creates a foundation that can't be shaken. The lies made her fragile because she was always afraid of being exposed, always worried someone would see through the performance, anxious that the truth would slip out. But honesty made her solid, because there was nothing hidden, nothing to protect, nothing to maintain, just what is. and that is unshakable. This is what separates mentally strong people from everyone else. They've stopped lying to themselves about who they are. They want what they actually think and feel. And once you stop lying to yourself, nobody else can manipulate you anymore, because manipulation only works on people who are already confused about their own reality. One of the hardest truths about developing mental strength is that it makes you lonely. Not because you push people away, but because you can no longer participate in the collective delusions that bond most people together. You can't laugh at jokes that aren't funny just to fit in. Can't pretend to care about things that don't matter. Can't engage in small talk that goes nowhere. Can't validate complaints you know are just excuses. And without the ability to participate in these social rituals, you become an outsider. Jordan found herself increasingly isolated at parties. She couldn't engage in the usual conversations. People would complain about their jobs, their relationships, their lives, and she'd see exactly what they weren't willing to see. The choices they kept making, the patterns they kept repeating, the agency they kept denying. And she couldn't participate in the comfortable lie that they were helpless victims of circumstance. In meetings, she couldn't nod along to mediocrity. She couldn't pretend average was excellent. She couldn't celebrate motion when there was no progress, and her honesty made others uncomfortable with her friends. She couldn't maintain surface-level connection, couldn't avoid difficult topics. She couldn't pretend everything was fine when it wasn't. And slowly, her social circle shrank, because mentally strong people see too much. They see the mechanisms behind social bonding. They see the unspoken agreements everyone maintains. They see the collective story everyone tells themselves. And once you see these things, you can't unsee them. You can't go back to unconscious participation, and this creates profound loneliness. Because most human connection is built on shared delusions, shared complaints, shared avoidance, shared performance. And when you start participating in that, you realize how rare, deep, authentic connection actually is. But here's the compensation. The loneliness of clarity is better than the false connection of delusion. Because at least in loneliness, you're real. You're yourself. You're not performing, and that integrity, authenticity, that truth is worth more than 1,000 superficial friends. When you become mentally strong, you become a threat, not because you attack anyone, but because your existence questions theirs. Your strength implies their weakness. Your clarity implies their confusion. Your growth implies their stagnation. And people hate being confronted with their own potential. Jordan didn't try to make anyone uncomfortable. She wasn't preachy or judgmental. She simply lived differently, made different choices, set different standards, and that alone was threatening. Her friend complained about her job. Every weekend, Jordan would ask, "Have you applied elsewhere? Looked for alternatives? Considered what you actually want?" And her friend would get defensive, make excuses, say Jordan didn't understand, and eventually stopped sharing. Because Jordan's simple questions exposed that she was choosing her misery. Her colleague would gossip about others, judge people, make her feel better by putting others down. And Jordan wouldn't participate, and her colleague felt judged. Not because Jordan said anything, but because Jordan's refusal to engage highlighted the pettiness. Her brother would blame their parents for everything wrong in his life. And Jordan had stopped blaming anyone. And her brother accused her of being cold, of not understanding, of having forgotten where she came from. When the truth was, she'd just stopped finding power in victimhood. And none of these people said, "You're becoming mentally strong, and it threatens my comfortable mediocrity." Instead, they said, "You've changed. You're different now. You're not the same person." And they were right. She wasn't the same person. She was awake, and their sleep became obvious. This is why mediocrity hates excellence. Not because excellence attacks, but because it exposes weak people. Need everyone else to be weak to validate their weakness. They need collective agreement that growth is impossible. Standards are unrealistic. Strength is unattainable. And when one person proves otherwise, by simply being otherwise, it breaks the agreement. The ultimate goal of mental strength isn't to impress anyone or prove anything. It's self-possession, owning yourself completely, needing nothing from outside to validate your worth. This is what makes someone truly unbreakable. Jordan reached this state gradually. She used to need approval from her parents. And when she stopped needing it, their criticism lost its power. She used to need validation from romantic partners. And when she stopped needing it, rejection lost its sting. She used to need recognition at work. And when she stopped needing it, office politics became irrelevant. She used to need social acceptance. And when she stopped needing it, isolation became peaceful. This didn't happen because she stopped carrying it. Happened because she found something internal that external circumstances couldn't touch her. Worth was no longer negotiable, no longer dependent, no longer up for debate. This created an unshakable foundation because when your value comes from outside, you're always vulnerable. One criticism, one rejection, one failure, and your entire sense of self collapses. But when your value comes from inside, from self-knowledge, self-acceptance, self-possession, nothing external can destroy you. You can lose your job and remain yourself, lose relationships and remain yourself, lose status, money, recognition, and remain yourself, because you're not those things. You're you underneath all of it, and that you is solid. This is what philosophers mean by an unbreakable mind. It's not a mind that never experiences pain. It's a mind that doesn't break under pain because it's rooted in something deeper than circumstances. This is what people find threatening about mentally strong individuals. You can't control them. You can't manipulate them. You can't use social pressure to make them conform. They've found something in themselves that's more powerful than anything you can offer or threaten them with. Here's what nobody tells you about mental strength. It doesn't make life easier. It makes life harder, but in a different way. The easy path is conformity. Stay small. Don't question. Fit in, avoid conflict. Keep everyone comfortable, and your life will be smooth. You'll have friends, you'll fit in, you'll belong, but you'll also be hollow because you're not living your life. You're living everyone else's expectations. The hard path is autonomy. Think for yourself. Set your own standards. Refuse to compromise. Refuse to perform. Refuse to bend. And your life will be full of friction. People will resist you, will be lonely, circumstances will be difficult. But you'll be real, and that realness, that authenticity, that integrity is worth every bit of difficulty. Jordan chose the hard path and it cost her. She lost friends who couldn't handle her honesty, lost family respect because she refused to play expect roles, lost professional opportunities because she wouldn't compromise her standards, lost romantic possibilities because she demanded authenticity. And most people can't provide it, but she gained something nobody could take from her. She gained herself, not the performed version, not the molded version, not the acceptable version, but the actual version, the one that existed beneath all the layers of conditioning. And that self is solid, is real, is unbreakable, and building a life from that foundation. Even a smaller, quieter, less impressive life is more satisfying than building a massive, impressive life on sand. This is the choice mentally strong people make. Not because they're better, but because they can't make the other choice anymore. Once you wake up, you can't go back to sleep. Once you see, you can't unsee. Once you know, you can't unknow. The path forward is hard, but there's no path. Becoming mentally unbreakable requires specific tools, not physical weapons, but cognitive and emotional ones. And most people never develop them because they're never taught first. Radical honesty. The ability to see reality as it is, not as you wish it were. Most people live in comfortable delusion. Mentally strong people live in uncomfortable truth. Jordan practiced this by regularly asking herself, what am I lying to myself about? What am I avoiding? What truth am I not ready to face? And forcing herself to answer honestly, even when it hurt. Second, emotional sovereignty, the ability to feel without being controlled by feelings. Most people are slaves to their emotions. Mentally strong people observe their emotions without being destroyed by them. Jordan learned to feel anger without acting on it, feel fear without avoiding what scared her, feel sadness without drowning in it. The emotions exist, but they didn't control her. Third, intellectual independence. The ability to think for yourself without requiring consensus. Most people need others to validate their thoughts. Mentally strong people trust their own judgment. Jordan stopped asking, is this what I'm supposed to think? And started asking, this what I actually think. Fourth, strategic distance. The ability to withdraw from situations, people dynamics that drain you. Most people feel obligated to maintain all connections. Mentally strong people ruthlessly edit their lives. Jordan removed herself from friendships that required performance, from family dynamics that demanded her smallness, from professional environments that rewarded mediocrity. She didn't do this cruelly, but she did it decisively. Fifth, purposeful action. The ability to move forward even without clarity, motivation, or certainty. Most people wait for perfect conditions. Mentally strong people act with imperfect information. Jordan stopped waiting to feel ready, stopped waiting for motivation, stopped waiting for circumstances to align. She decided and moved. These weapons aren't taught in school, aren't discussed in therapy, aren't part of normal development. They're forged in individual struggle, in the decision to stop being a victim and start being a force. If you've made it this far, you already know you're different. Most people turned this off already. Most people ran back to comfort, to easy answers, to content that makes them feel good, without challenging them. But you stayed. And that matters, because building mental strength that terrifies people isn't for everyone. It requires sacrifices. You'll lose people who can't handle your growth. You'll lose opportunities that require your submission. You'll lose the comfort of collective belonging. You'll lose the ease of living on autopilot. But what you gain is irreplaceable. You gain ownership of your own mind, complete sovereignty over your inner world. And once you have that, nobody can control you. Nobody can manipulate you. Nobody can break you. Because you're not built on external validation. You're built on internal foundation. Jordan's life looked smaller from the outside. Fewer friends, simpler, less social status, less impressive. But inside she was vast. Where she used to be hollow, she was solid. Where she used to be anxious, she was calm. Where she used to need approval, she was self-sufficient. And that internal shift changed everything. Not because it made others respect her, though some did, but because she respected herself. And that respect, that integrity, that authenticity is worth more than anything the world could offer. This is the final truth about mental strength. It's not about impressing anyone. It's about freeing yourself from the need to impress. It's not about being better than others. It's about being authentically yourself. It's not about never being hurt. It's about being hurt and remaining whole. So here's my challenge. Write in the comments one truth you've been hiding, one thing you know but haven't said, one way you're different that you've been suppressing publicly. Declare it. Be willing to be seen. And if this resonated, watch the next video. Because we're going even deeper into what happens when you choose power over comfort, when you choose truth over belonging, when you choose yourself over everyone else's expectations. You're not alone. You're just ahead. And that is both terrifying and liberating.